I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning. Welcome to our Thursday morning meeting, February 8th, Board of County Commissioners. My name is Andy Hunthausen. Commissioner Rolfe is out today. To his usual left is Flo Liston, taking care of us today. Greg McNally, our Director of Planning and Community Development, to my right. Candace Payne, Commissioner, good morning. And to her right, we will have Nico Hash, Deputy County Attorney, in a minute, and Keegan Shea, Deputy County Attorney, as well as Roger Baltz, our Chief Administrative Officer. Good morning to everyone. Mr. Baltz, we do not have any consent action items, so we'll jump right into our main agenda here, which number 3 is a grant task order between Lewis and Clark County and Montana Department of Public Health and Human Services. Good morning. Might have to, yeah.
At all. Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. I am Laurel Riek, the Environmental Health and Disease Prevention Administrator. Today, I have before you a task order between Montana Department of Public Health and Human Services and Lewis and Clark Public Health. These funds will be a reimbursement for up to $65,000 for the period between January 1st, 2024 and December 31st, 2024. In the past, we have brought a cooperative agreement for licensed establishments to the Board of Health for approval of the work that we do. This task order is replacing the cooperative agreement. The establishment license fees are collected by DPHHS and placed in a local board inspection fund. This annual agreement establishes a payment schedule that maximizes the disbursement of funds to local health jurisdictions, which support inspections of licensed facilities. The programs that are part of this task order include retail and wholesale food, public accommodations, public pools and spas, as well as trailer courts and campgrounds. We have continued our option to not take on the body art program as it requires a lot of specific knowledge for just a few facilities. Our state office conducts those inspections on our behalf. We will conduct pool and spa inspections, plan reviews for trailer courts, campgrounds, and campgrounds in partnership with the environmental health team, and offer assistance in peer-to-peer training when we are able. This agreement was developed over a period of time to eliminate payment disputes. The tables and percentages clearly indicate what work is needed to obtain the full allocation to our county. Our payments are based on the number of license fees that are received. We will be receiving $61,546 from 692 licenses paid in 2023. These are predominantly food establishments with 453 licensed food facilities. License fees pay for 13% of our program costs. Local taxpayer dollars make up the remaining 87% of the budget required to operate this program. These fees pay for 1 inspection per year for most facility types and 2 inspections for 40 of our year-round pools and spas. The National Retail Food Program standards recommend that the number of inspections per year for food establishments be based on risk, which could be up to 4 per year. All of our license fees are located in statute, making it very difficult to keep fees current. The retail food fees have not been updated since 2009, while costs to fund our program continue to climb. I am currently sitting on a committee to evaluate methods to advocate for equitable fee increases during the 2025 legislative session. We make our decisions on our activities under this task order based on risk to public health. Inspections are one portion of the work that we do. Our programs involve plan reviews, technical assistance, education, complaint and communicable disease investigations, as well as inspections. Staff does recommend approval, and I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Riek. I really appreciate it. And I'm glad that you were you included in your presentation some of the detail about the program and its impacts. And it's a great program. Glad we're doing it. I wish we could visit more than once a year, or on average more than once a year. But recognizing the cost, it's really challenging. And as you said, only 13% of the program cost is being paid by this $60,000 to $65,000, whatever it ends up being this year. And thus, the rest of it's picked up by local taxpayers.
Yes.
And so there's been an effort, and as you just described, there's an effort amongst the public health organizations across the state. And I think the counties are jumping on board. Last Association of Counties meeting, and I'm on the health committee, and we discussed this issue with members of that committee, and intent to take that forward and hopefully have a broad support across our counties for an effort at the next legislative session. Because just to describe this for people, the cost is somewhere north of $300,000 a year to just do the one inspection of all these. And you talked about the stuff that we're responsible for are the trailer courts, campgrounds, restaurants, pools, spas, school programs, school food programs. So we have to inspect all of those, make sure that they're meeting the standards, or develop plans with them to improve and all of that. And only 13% of that cost is paid by the actual fees that folks, those businesses or organizations would pay in to be inspected. The rest is on the taxpayer. And from my perspective, I'm kind of getting on my soapbox here, but from my perspective, it makes really good sense that the taxpayer would have an interest in this, and the local taxpayer would pay part of the bill. But it seems very much, if I were a restaurant owner or a business owner that had food, I'd really want that inspected, make sure it's safe for the people that I'm selling it to. And so that responsibility seems to be kind of 50-50 to me. So I'm hoping that when we go to this next legislative session, that this 13% gets closer to the 50% number. That's what I'm dreaming about, hoping about anyway. But in terms of back to this task order, very good. We do, this is different than we normally do because it usually goes to the Board of Health, but this year they're doing it through a task order coming directly to us, which is fine. It's the same money that comes down every year, just kind of a different method of getting it to the counties. So thank you very much. Thank you for the work that you do. As you said, you talked about risk in your presentation as well. So when we say one inspection a year, there might be Andy's restaurant that we had some potential violations, or at least we maybe weren't meeting the grade. So you might have to come back multiple times because we are a higher risk organization. And you do that kind of behind the scenes as much as possible, trying to help that organization so that they don't get a bad name in the community or anything like that. But you try to get them back on track, doing the right thing, develop a plan with them, correct? And
That
all
is
of that.
correct.
So that might take, for one business like Andy's restaurant, it might take 5 visits or many, many hours, where you're averaging just one visit per entity over the year. But there's many that you have to develop plans with, and the
That's right.
sanitarians will have to be visiting multiple times. Is that correct?
We work hard at obtaining compliance with operators.
Yeah.
So whatever that takes, we're going to do what we can to make that happen.
Right. And for all of that work being done by our sanitarians for, again, I'll say Andy's restaurant, only a fraction of the cost of all that work is being taken on by me, Andy's restaurant.
That would be correct.
Yeah. And the rest is the taxpayer. So I'm hoping that the legislature sees some of the wisdom in, but we'll see. We'll work together. I just wanted to have that discussion. This is a standard, something that comes down to the counties every year. Again, it is a different method that we're receiving it this year, but it's not different in terms of the money coming to us for this purpose.
That is correct.
Yeah. Okay. Commissioner, any questions?
Yes.
Please.
Questions and comments. Who put a quarter in you this morning? Sorry.
Well, this is one of my big things that
Yes.
has a burr under my saddle.
Well,
so.
And we have discussed the lack of funding for this. And to me, this is a really the basis of what our public health department is supposed to be doing. This is how you protect us. I also recognize that if we raise the fees that we charge to the restaurant owners, the people who you are inspecting, so they can have more inspections, in order to pay for that, they're going to pass that on. The costs of their operation are going to go up. It's a tough business anyway. The costs are going to go up. Is there any way to look into grants for this sort of thing? Is that an option? Do you know?
There, excuse me. There are, if we can meet some of the national restaurant program standards, retail food program standards, there are grants out there that we can apply for, but we have to meet those standards first.
Meaning you have to have, I believe someplace you said up to 4 inspections per year rather than just
That's
one.
part of it. We don't have to meet all of the standards because very few counties in the United States meet all of the standards. But they want us to have a uniform inspection program, and based on the FDA Model Food Code and you know, I have Nina Heinzinger here from our program supervisor. She's been working on this grant a little bit. If I may, I can ask her to come and speak to you about it.
I would like, I think we have a time for that.
If you'd just give us your name and position for the record, please. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Nina Heinzinger, the Licensed Establishments Program Supervisor. There is a possibility for grants, and we do apply for those each year. They're not very large for the most part. There's available about 5,000. We did get one for this year, along with a travel grant to be able to attend. Retail food training, which is the largest part of our work in terms of inspections. We're inspecting almost 500 retail food establishments every year. So there is the possibility for some money, but not a whole lot of other grants are available to support inspection activities.
Do you know, another question, Chairman. Is this a problem throughout the country that?
Oh, yes, it is.
Okay, so possibly a national grants program would be. The reason I'm asking is I'm going to a national meeting this next week, and maybe this is something that I could talk to somebody about to see what we can get moving on.
Yeah,
she apparently has something to say, but
yeah.
this
It
is such
national grant program. The retail food national standards program is funded through FDA and AFTO, the American Association of Food and Drug Officials, and other organizations come together to fund these grants for retail food inspections, to develop retail food inspection programs that meet the standards, so that we have trained retail food inspectors that consistently and with consistency, as well as with enough training to be able to do their job appropriately.
and to be able to drive to Augusta and Lincoln.
Oh,
I mean,
well,
it's a long ways. This is problems some states don't have, but
yeah,
we do. And there are a lot of things that we work on that I scratch my head in trying to see why this is something that the government should be sticking their fingers in. But public health, specifically the food industry, that seems like the absolute cornerstone of public health. So see what we can do.
Thanks, Commissioner. I just wanted to clarify something as well. again, back to Andy's restaurant. Right now, if you came and did a general inspection of me, say I have, let's say I'm a bigger one. I have 50 employees. My fee would be approximately, or on average, about what?
$115.
$115.
And
So-
that's the same fee for any establishment that has 3 or more employees.
So I just wanted to clarify, so
Yeah.
those that might be thinking that this is a huge pass through to, you know, like your steak's gonna go up by $10 or something. It's not $100 over the year for an inspection that really helps my restaurant. I can say, hey, I've got a clean inspection. I've got, you know,
Yeah.
safe food here for
Yeah.
you as a community. It's not that big. So if that doubled, for example, for Andy's restaurant, and I think, you know, that might be what we encourage the legislature to consider. That's still probably not gonna break me in a year if I have, you know.
That is
$200
correct.
for an inspection that I can say I have safe
Yeah.
food for my community.
Yeah, right now, our fees are just based on the number of employees.
Right,
So for retail food establishments. So Safeway is paying the same amount as a mom and pop store that has 3 or more employees at one time.
it doesn't
So-
seem quite right. You spend a lot more time at Safeway in their deli and going through all their stuff
Yeah.
than you, or Costco than you do at, Zydeco Little Food Shack or whatever it is down there. I don't know what it's called,
Yeah.
but you know what I mean? So,
Yes, that is
okay,
correct.
great. I think we got the picture and I really appreciate the discussion. Anything further, Commissioner, this time?
No,
Okay. And again, we're talking about grant task order between Lewis Clark County and the Department of Public Health and Human Services. And these are the dollars that come back to the county based on the fees paid by our local establishments for food inspection and health inspections.
Can I just add another
Please.
point here, please? We don't get all of that $115.
Right.
We get 90% of it. 10% is left at the state office.
State gets to keep the rest.
And that's for the retail food. Some of the other programs, we get 85%.
Right.
So it's not it doesn't,
There's room for some work on this issue.
Yes.
Okay.
And-
Thank you. Yes.
one more question. This, the license fees based on number of employees seems sort of not a particularly good way of figuring out the costs. Is there other things we could do to so it's more equitable, so that the deli at Costco and as the Zydeco restaurant, it's based more on, I mean, what other things are there other than employees, pounds of food, or I mean, there are certainly ways of doing this.
the committee that I am sitting on is looking and evaluating all kinds of different methods. Other jurisdictions across the country are using specific ways of doing it. Some is by square footage of the facility. Some is by number of dollars that they bring in a year, which I don't think that one's the best way, but so we're looking at all of
But-
that. And to have more than 2 categories for license fees, 85 and 115, it's just not equitable. And we recognize that and want to change that and have tried to advocate in the past to change that. It's just complicated.
Yes, I've been up there and testified a couple of times actually on this issue, and we've had not great luck yet, but it's going to happen. I feel it. So, all right. Thank you very much. Appreciate your discussion today. Thank you, Commissioner. All right. How about public comment on this item? Any public comment on this item? All right. Seeing none, Commissioner, is there a motion to approve the task order as presented?
So moved.
Second. Moved and second to approve the task order as presented. Further discussion?
Oh.
Thank you. Appreciate it. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Hi.
Aye. All right. We are on to the next item, which is contract amendment number 1 between Lewis Clark County and Orion Planning and Design. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Lindsay Morgan, Land Use Planner for Lewis and Clark County. Today, you'll be considering an amended contract between Lewis and Clark County and Orion Planning and Design. It's regarding a comprehensive audit and update to the Lewis and Clark County subdivision regulations. Funding for this project has been budgeted in the Community Development and Planning Department's budget. The original contract between the county and Orion was approved on March 3rd of 2022 in the amount of $90,000. According to the scope of work under Exhibit A of the contract, the project would be completed in 2 phases. Phase 1 is the comprehensive audit, which has been completed, and phase 2 is the update to the regulations themselves. Right now in phase 2, we are working on the different draft chapters and looking at what they're providing to us. So right now we're kind of in that review and edit phase. The anticipated completion date would be no later than the end of this year. This amended contract has been vetted by both grants and purchasing, legal, and then also planning department staff. So we are recommending approval, and I'm available if you have any questions for me.
Thank you. How about questions, Commissioner?
Okay, I do have
Oh,
just
okay.
to clarify one thing. This is okay, so phase 1 is finished. Phase 2 is what we're going to start working on now.
Chairman Hunthausen, Commissioner Payne, we are already in phase 2, and we are working on that first line item, which is the draft chapters.
Okay. And how long do you think this will it be done by December 31st, 2024?
Chairman Hunthausen, Commissioner Payne, we believe that it will be done sooner than that.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Mhm.
Appreciate it. How about public comment on this item? Any public comment on this item? Okay, Commissioner, is there a motion, please?
I move to approve the contract amendment between Lewis and Clark County and Orion Planning and Design as presented by Lindsay Morgan.
Second, moved and seconded to approve the contract amendment as presented. Further discussion? Thank you. Looking forward to it being done and moving on and seeing how it fits in with all of our other planning efforts. It's good. We've been talking about this for a long time. So
All right.
thank you for your good work.
Thank
Thank you to Orion. All right, Commissioner. With that, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Number 5 on our agenda is comments for a court-ordered division, the state of H. Howard Anderson. Good morning.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioner Payne. Christal Ness Development Services Supervisor for the county. This morning you have before you an item to provide comment to a court-ordered division that's been filed with the court. This particular court-ordered division is for an estate and an agreement among the heirs. 763201 provides for court-ordered divisions. It also provides that before a court of record orders a division of land under subsection 1A, the court shall notify the governing body of the pending division and allow the governing body to present written comment on the division. So today for you, I've also given you a written comment to consider at the end of my presentation. So I'm going to kind of leave my slides in this mode so that I can go back and forth as you may have some questions. So this particular division is dealing with 2 parcels of property up at the very top of Birdseye. You can see the Silver City designation at the top of the Birdseye Road. Its intersection with Lincoln Road and then Marysville Road. Howie Anderson owned quite a bit of property out here in this particular area. And the petition that we have before us is simply to divide these 2 portions into smaller portions. Find my arrow here. So I've got an aerial photograph. This is the larger parcel that's to the southwest. This is a 240 acre parcel. You can see that it's kind of crisscrossed with some 2-track roads. One of the things that's being proposed with this division is easements that will be dedicated on the survey for probably the person that's going to own the property in the middle. So we've got a 20-acre piece here in the middle of that 240 acres. We've got some easements that are shown on this survey. So that is actually quite a remote piece of property. So I was very pleased to see the easements that were dedicated on that particular survey. The other piece of property is closer to Anna Brown Road. Anna Brown Road is actually a public access and utility easement. As you can see, those smaller lots to the north of the road here, these were actually two separate subdivisions that were done, and this road was actually dedicated. The way that they're proposing to divide the property, the lower piece will access off of Birdseye Road, and the two 10-acre pieces will access off of Anna Brown Road. In my staff report, I referred to two 10-acre pieces and a 2-acre piece. That's actually a 20-acre piece. The county doesn't have any zoning regulations at this particular area. Our county zoning ends to the south of this particular piece of property. So I've attached to my staff report the pleadings that were sent to us by Scott Svee, who is the attorney of record. He's very easy to work with relative to legal issues that he has in his office. And particularly, he gives us quite a bit of notice on these court order divisions. So I've attached all of his pleadings, the agreement among the heirs, and the proposed surveys that will probably be attached as exhibits to the court's order. And I'm here for any questions you may have.
Thank you, Ness. I really appreciate it. And yes, in going through this, it's well done. All put together, easy to follow. Would you the recommended comments that we might endorse here, could you go over those briefly,
Certainly.
please?
I
think they're important.
I've made some generalizations relative to this. Of course, this is a court order division. This is the estate of a gentleman who has passed away, and this court order division is to finalize his wishes and the wishes of the heirs in this particular case. The general comments that I've put together is that the court order should instruct the partitioners that a certificate of survey is required to be prepared pursuant to statute and the administrative rules, and possibly providing dedication easements if necessary. We talked about the easements that they've already shown on their draft on the larger parcel. The court's order should instruct the partitioners their property is subject to the requirements of on-site wastewater treatment regulations, i.e. they need to get septic permits to develop these lots. And the court order should instruct the partitioners that their property should be addressed prior to development. I believe we've only got one address on the smaller of the two larger pieces, so there will need to be additional addresses. One of the things that I didn't cover, which is also very important, is a court order division is exempt from the Subdivision and Planning Act, i.e. they don't have to satisfy our requirements for subdivision review. It is also exempt from the Sanitation and Subdivisions Act, which means they don't have to get DEQ approval for water, wastewater, and stormwater drainage if they had proposed a development that was not exempt. And in this particular case, we're creating two 20s, which are exempt from DEQ review anyway, and then the one large parcel. If these properties were subject to the Sanitation Act, we'd really only see two of these go through review.
Right. Thank you. Yeah. Any questions at this time?
Yes, I do. When you and I were talking about this project yesterday, I mentioned I'd been out here and had some dealings with Howie. But, okay, so a couple of questions. I'm looking at, this is, okay. Exhibit E, the restrictive covenants that are attached to your packet. And these, I just want to confirm that these will be attached and be part of the title so that when a potential buyer is looking at this, they will have noticed that there are restrictions regarding what can and can't be done out there. Is that right?
Chairman, Commissioner Payne, yes, that's right. That's part of the proposed division that the heirs have proposed, and I don't know if that was kind of an understanding from Howie Anderson, who originally owned the property, that he wanted to make sure that there were certain protections. But yes, those restrictions will be filed as a separate document along with the surveys. I anticipate that we'll have the surveys, we'll have the deeds from the estate, and we'll also have covenants. All of those documents should be recorded at the same time, along with the court's order as well.
Okay. And the court's order becomes part of the title record also?
Chairman, Commissioner Payne, that's exactly right. Because a court order division is exempt from both subdivision review and the Sanitation Act, any certificates of survey that are recorded with exemptions have to have a statement signed to by the property owner relative to DEQ and the Subdivision and Platting Act. So the court's order gets recorded first because those exemptions then are allowed to be placed on that survey. Then the survey will be recorded, then the covenants will be recorded, and then the deeds will be recorded. So the covenants will be recorded right after the survey gets recorded. So those covenants then will pertain to those deeds.
Okay. Thank you for that explanation, Christal.
Thank you, Commissioner. Appreciate it. Thank you, Christal. Anything further from anyone? Greg, Nico, Egan?
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, just again to note that sorry, I'm going to make sure I don't misquote this, but for tract B2A, if the commission does take Ms. Ness's proposed comments, that we should clarify that for tract B2A, that it's 2 10-acre lots and a 22-acre lot. So just adding that for clarification. So
Thank you. Let the record show that that's the case, correct?
Yes, Chairman.
Yes, thank you very much. Appreciate that. All right, anything further? Thank you. Okay, any public comment on this item? Any public comment? Any public comment? Hearing none. Commissioner, is there a motion?
Uh,
It would just be to
I move that we approve the comments to the court order division estate of H. Howard Anderson as presented by Christal Ness.
second. Moved and seconded to approve sending the comments to the court as presented. Further discussion. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. Okay, we are at that time in the meeting where we will take public comment on any item that is under the jurisdiction of the commission, but not on today's agenda. Anything further? Mr. Baltz, anything for us today? No, you're good. Okay. Any public comment? All right. Thank you very much. We will stand adjourned.